there, Jaime Kalman Chipko here, and you are watching Jaime Magic. So let's create a little magic together. So I am a mom, as you guys know if you've been watching this channel for a bit, and I have a little girl, and she is fantastic. I love her. I mean, we all think our kids are fantastic, hopefully. But you know, she's really sensitive. She's a highly sensitive soul, and her body is really sensitive too. You know, it just talks very loudly to her, so she feels things very acutely. And, she comes by it honestly. I was the same way growing up, and I still deal with sensory processing issues even to this day. I've just learned how to manage those uncomfortable feelings in a more balanced and healthy and appropriate way so that it's not constantly distracting me from the present moment. But I've always got things to move through. So my life has really been helpful for me as a parent because I've had a lot that I've had to figure out, move through, transform, change. And the more that we do that, the more we practice changing and growing and transforming, the better that we get at it, in the sense that I think we fear it a little less and we're a little bit more welcoming of opportunities to continue to grow and develop. So, what I want to share with you today is, as a certified hypnotherapist, and especially, now as a certified pediatric hypnotherapist, I'm running into an interesting pattern, which is that parents want to know if hypnosis will help their child to change specific behaviors. Okay. So obviously, that's why you would reach out, right? You are experiencing an unwanted behavior or pattern of behavior in your child. It's not working for them or for you or for your family or at school or whatever it might be, and you want to change the behavior. Well, I completely understand that because, like I said earlier, I am a highly sensitive parent of a highly sensitive child, and she's had over the years a lot of behaviors that I was really worried about. Certain habits that she had that, seemed out of her control and weren't healthy. And I had to figure out how to help that. Maybe you have a child who sucks their thumb, bites their fingers, plucks their eyelashes, picks their nose, right? They're doing these behaviors, and you're like, oh my gosh, this has to change. How do I change it? And, there's different options for how you can do that. There's traditional therapy, there's cognitive behavioral therapy. So you can work with a psychotherapist or a counselor or a licensed social worker. There's, psychiatry is more geared towards medication and the medical applications towards mental health. I don't have any qualifications to discuss that, but in some cases, depending on what you're dealing with, that could be a good route to go in. um, I always recommend that talk to your pediatrician first if there's a behavior that your child is struggling with that you think might be unhealthy, or that you're concerned about. Talk to the pediatrician. By the way, your child doesn't need to be at that visit. You can call or email your pediatrician and have this conversation without doing it in front of the child. And the reason that I recommend that is because if your child feels that, you're talking to the doctor because you're concerned about this behavior, they might think that there's something that they're doing that, needs to be fixed, or that they're the problem. So we just want to be careful. I think sometimes when we talk to professionals who are there to help us move through difficult things, maybe we have some of those preliminary conversations without the kiddo. I just think you're going to speak more freely as the parent or caregiver, and your child's not going to absorb any beliefs about himself, herself, themselves. That's just self-limiting at the end of the day, or self-critical in some way. So that's the first thing I want to say. Now, I do hypnotherapy and coaching, and also something called emotional freedom techniques, which is a really cool body-based stress relief method that I do with adults and kids. So it helps just bring down the intensity of the stress that we might feel in our bodies or the big feelings that we might have. It helps them to, it just helps us to manage our big feelings so that our feelings are not running the show. Because feelings are a really important part of life, but they can't run the show. Okay, so feelings, while they're super important, they're not facts. Okay, so we just want to be able to feel our feelings, listen to them, understand what it is that they're trying to guide us towards in terms of a solution, because they're always talking to us. Our bodies are always talking to us, and our feelings are great, great, great communicators of what it is that we really want. Okay, so for example, anger is your body's way of saying that something's not okay. You are not okay with something, right? Something's not fair, not justified. So anger has a really positive intention, even though we tend to write it off as a negative emotion. The truth is, it has a positive intention. It's letting you know that you're not okay with something, but we don't want to stay in the anger. We want to get the message, okay, I'm not okay with something. And then we want to step into how we want to deal and manage, deal with the anger and manage it. That might be that we have to work through the feeling by, moving our bodies through exercise. It might be that we journal about it, or we draw an angry picture if we're a little kid, or it might be that we're punching a pillow. And then the next thing that we would want to do is be able to communicate and express ourselves, what it is that we feel we are not okay with, and how we would prefer that to be. Okay, so that's a whole other video, the steps to, really conscious and productive communication, especially when you have big feelings. So look forward to that, because that is on its way. But what I want to mention to you today is communication is so important. And when your child is exhibiting behaviors that you think are problematic and you want to get in there and fix the behavior, I want to invite you to consider this concept today. What if you didn't try to fix the behavior? What if instead we adjust our communication rather than trying to fix the behavior? Okay, so if your child, for instance, won't get off of the video game and you want them to come to dinner, and you're arguing, it's like every day it's the same argument, right? Well, the argument is now the problem, not really the screen time. We can't keep doing the same approach and expecting different results. So what we need to do is we need to identify what is the unsolved problem. Okay, so it can't just be my child's behavior. That's super vague. So what specifically is it? So in the example of the video game, right? Is it that the child is not respecting or honoring the limit of how long they're allowed to play the video game? Or is the problem that they're playing the video game at a time where you need them to be doing something else, like homework or eating dinner? And so what I would recommend is, rather than getting in there and trying to fix the problem behavior, such like you might say, oh, that's it, no more screens. No more screens. Because you're not coming down to dinner. It's an argument every night. I'm taking the screens away. That's the consequence. And we might think that that's a really great approach, right? Like, oh, yes, well, I'm going to fix this behavior of, not listening to me and playing this video game all the time and not getting off when I tell them to. But the problem is, that's not really going to fix anything, because actually what needs fixing is your communication around the issue. So we always want to connect before we correct. So it's always a really wise idea to start with communication. And remember, we communicate non-verbally as well as verbally. So it's not about going in and lecturing your child about screen time and limits. It's about communicating with your energy that you're curious about the video game that your child is playing. What do they love about it? And why is it hard for them to walk away from it? And you're only going to know that by actually going and sitting down next to them and experiencing them playing. And then being truly curious about it. Ask them questions. You know, maybe not when they're playing because they'll get really mad at you, but taking a few moments to just sit and see what they're doing. And then maybe at dinner, asking them questions like, what they like about the game, their character, do they play with other people? Really, really ask some thoughtful questions about it. Let them talk about it because clearly they love it if they have a hard time getting off it, right? Ask them how they feel when they're playing their video game. Why do they enjoy it so much? And just listen. Just listen. The more we listen to our children, the more that they are willing to work with us and cooperate with us and collaborate. And the very simple reason is because they feel like you care and they don't feel like you're just trying to be the authority and tell them what to do. So rather than fixing the problem, let's fix our communication and start by just being present to what they love and pay attention to it. Be curious, ask some thoughtful questions, actually want to listen to the answer. And then I would recommend addressing the issue or the unsolved problem. And that might look like something where at a more peaceful moment, maybe before bed or when you're driving, to and from soccer practice or whatever it is, or at bath time, whatever. I don't know when your peaceful moments are going to be, but just saying, hey, I've really noticed that we have this argument all the time around when you're playing the video game and I'm telling you to turn it off and come to dinner. And I don't want to argue all the time about it. And I really get that this video game is important to you and I get why you love it. Would you be willing to help us design how this can work so that you can have some time playing your game and doing what you love, but that we can also eat together and, have that time together too. So, what do you feel you need in order to be able to play the game and then be able to get wrapped up and turn it off or press pause and come back to it so that you can come down to dinner without me nagging you, screaming at you? What are your thoughts on that? And then I would just listen, okay? And think about it. And then you can share your thoughts, what you had in mind, and see what they think. But my main approach with communication with my own child that has been spectacular, it's so helpful to have this ability to talk with my child, reason with her, rationalize with her. We have great communication because I've learned that it's not about me imposing my will on her. It's about us listening to each other, and it's about us working together as a team. So if we have a common goal, that helps us get there. Because typically an argument is when you've got a conflict and, one person's expectation is different than the other, right? Or one person's goal is different than the other. You have a conflict of interest. And so, I think that is a huge game changer to stop trying to fix the behavior and stop trying to fix the problem and instead connect, and communicate. And you will then experience cooperation and collaboration. And that is fantastic because that's really conscious problem solving. And what a great way to teach your child how to do it. So I look forward to your questions, your comments, anything that you want to talk about in the future with future videos. Thank you so much for watching Jaime Magic. And please hit that like and subscribe button so that I can share this work with other people. But only do it if you really did like it. All right, I will talk to you really soon. And I wish you such happy communication in all of your relationships and all the things that you do. Enjoy, and I'll talk to you soon.